What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Power 5 here on WagerTalk TV. I am, of course, Bryan Power, back with you today to talk NFL Week 18. Can you believe it? The final week of the NFL regular season. Playoff spots to be decided, so much more. We're talking about all of it here. The line moves, a team to buy low on, a team to sell high on, a stat on what happens when eliminated teams face teams that need to win to make the playoffs, and a free selection at the end, our Power Play of the Week. We got you covered in every direction. Of course, we start, as always, by looking at the WagerTalk.com live odds screen to see how the market is moving this week in the NFL. Here are your biggest line moves, at least the ones that caught my attention. Bengals -3 to -7.5 facing a Browns team resting starters. Jeff Driscoll is in for Cleveland. He'll be their 5th different starting quarterback this season, and that's a playoff team, if you can believe it. Jacksonville, they need to beat Tennessee to win the AFC South. They opened -3.5, got as high as -5.5, but now back down to the opening number with the news today that quarterback Trevor Lawrence is quote-unquote iffy. Another team that needs to win to become division champs, Tampa Bay, they opened -6, but they're down to -4.5, even though they're facing league worst Carolina. Remember, the Panthers, no incentive to tank because they don't have their #1 draft choice next spring. One more game where a team resting starters has impacted the line. The Chiefs, up to +3.5 at the Chargers. The Chiefs have already clinched the AFC West. They'll be the 3 seed in the playoffs. The Chargers, they're down to Easton Stick. Interesting there that the Chargers are favored. So, who should we be selling high on this week? Let's take a look at a different game on Saturday. Remember, there's a doubleheader on Saturday, kickoff NFL Week 18, and I'm selling high on Pittsburgh, who is a 3-point road favorite at Baltimore. The situation is this. Pittsburgh must win this game to have a chance of making the playoffs. They've already clinched Tomlin's 17th straight non-losing season with the win over Seattle last week. Baltimore, they've got nothing to play for after clinching the #1 overall seed in the AFC with last week's dominant victory against Miami. This line, though, has the single biggest discrepancy from my power ratings. If Baltimore was at full strength, I'd make them a double-digit favorite in this game. Also, know this. The Ravens, as underdogs, are on a 20-5 ATS run. Remember what they did to the 49ers 2 weeks ago as dogs. And you want to talk about underdogs. When John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin meet, okay, since they became the coaches of these respective teams in this rivalry, the underdog in Ravens-Steelers games has gone a remarkable 23-5-3 against the spread. Let me repeat that. 23-5-3 against the spread. That's what the underdog has done in Ravens-Steelers matchups with Harbaugh and Tomlin as the coaches. By the way, if you like that stat, I got another one coming for you here in just a little bit. Stay tuned. So the Steelers are our sell-high team this week. Who's buy low? I think the Titans are going to relish the opportunity to knock out the Jaguars, at least from the AFC South perch. At home this season, and Tennessee is home this week, the Titans are 4-3 straight up. But all 3 of those losses were by just 3 points apiece. 2 in overtime. The other came on a last-second TD by Seattle. Mike Vrabel, you want to talk underdogs. This guy's been great when getting more than 3 in his career. 26-12-2 against the number in that price range. I say buy low on Tennessee against Jacksonville this week. Here's your stat of the week. Going back to 1990, over the final 2 weeks of the regular season, taking eliminated teams against teams that must win, that would have you 164-4 against the spread if you took every team that was eliminated from playoff contention against a team that must win. That's 164-4. 4 pushes in there, but highly profitable. Is difficult as it may seem and counterintuitive as it may be to the respective teams' mindsets, but very profitable to back teams that are eliminated from playoff contention against teams that need to win to get into the playoffs. Remember, if these teams were good enough to make the playoffs, they probably wouldn't be in this situation. So there's definitely some value, and here are the games that qualify this week for this trend. Panthers +4.5 versus the Bucks, Titans +3.5 versus the Jaguars, Cardinals +3 versus the Seahawks, Bears +3 versus the Packers. Now, before we get to the Power Play of the Week, which is your free play for NFL Week 18, let's talk about what I have on tap this weekend at WagerTalk.com. Already posted 5 NFL winners for this weekend, including a 5% max bet. I don't have a ton of 5% plays. Regular clients know this. In fact, I just cashed my only 5% play for the Bulls, New Year's Day, Michigan beating Alabama. I've had just 2 5% NFL releases since the start of November. Both of those won. Bills plus 3.5 covered against the Eagles, and then the Lions destroyed the Broncos on a Saturday night a few weeks ago. You can get the full NFL card this weekend for just $39 at my page, wt.buzz/BP. You can get the next 3 days of plays, including my college football playoff championship game winner on Monday, for just $69. But the best value, in my opinion, is our New Year's special at WagerTalk, where for a limited time, you get 37 days of picks for just $299. That will get you covered through NFL Week 18, Monday's college football championship game, and the NFL playoffs. Not to mention NBA and college basketball as well. I do those daily. Normally, a 30-day all access would cost you $299, so you're getting an additional week, normally $99, absolutely free of charge. Again, head on over to my page, wt.buzz/BP right now to take advantage. No coupon code is needed. Power play of the week, Vikings plus 3.5 versus the Lions. The Lions still have an outside shot at grabbing the 2 seed in the NFC, but that would require a stunning loss by the Cowboys in Washington, which is not going to happen, in my opinion. The Lions obviously would also need to win here to jump ahead of the Cowboys. But again, the Cowboys are not losing to the Commanders as double-digit favorites. Therefore, with the 2 games taking place concurrently, same time, there's a good chance Dan Campbell takes a look up at the scoreboard, sees Dallas winning, and he just pulls his starters. Minnesota, still technically alive for the playoffs. It would take a lot of things to go their way to make it. It all requires them winning on Sunday, and that's all they can control. 2 weeks ago at home, let's talk about this. The Vikings very nearly beat the Lions. They lost 30-24 thanks to 4 turnovers. I certainly think they're capable of pulling off an upset with a less interested Lions team this time around. You got to remember, okay, in that last meeting, Detroit was going for its first division title in 30 years. They got it, obviously. But I think the prospect of moving up to the 2 seed, given the situation, how unlikely that is to happen, they're not going to be as motivated this time around. The Vikings on the road this season are 5-0-3 ATS. Yes, 3 pushes. That's very curious. 2 of those 3 straight-up losses. They're 5-3 straight up on the road, oh, by the way. 2 of those 3 straight-up losses by a total of 4 points only. Prior to last week, where they got humiliated on Sunday Night Football by Green Bay, the Vikes were 6-1 straight up, 5-1-1 ATS the last 3 seasons, following back-to-back straight-up losses. All but 2 of their games this season have been decided by 1 possession. Interestingly enough, both those games that weren't were against the Packers. They're not playing the Packers this week. They're playing the Lions. All Vikings games end up close going back to last year. I would take the points with Minnesota, and that is your power play of the week, and that does it for the Power 5 for NFL Week 18. You can find me on Twitter at Bryan Power _wins. Actually, they now call it X, I'm told. Again, remember that New Year's Day special, 37 days worth of picks for just $299. NFL Week 18 got a 5% play. College football championship game winners already up. Until next time, let's cash some tickets.